At the end of March 1945, Allied troops approached the Ostmark from all sides, and the Soviet army was already at the gates of Vienna. The Waffen-SS therefore began to evacuate all Mauthausen-subcamps in eastern and southern Austria, and to return the prisoners to the main camp Mauthausen. Under no circumstances were prisoners to remain in the camps as eyewitnesses to the National Socialist mass crimes. In early April there were still more than 7,000 prisoners in Melk, which is why the evacuation here lasted until mid-April. The former prisoner orderly Claus Salomon later reported.
We started our deportation movements in Melk concentration camp because the Red Army is ante portas. Everything that has legs and can still walk in the infirmary must be ready to march by 2 o'clock noon. These are the orders of camp leader Ludolph. We doctors are helpless, because where to go with all the sick and half dead? But here comes Mr. Paramedic, just down the road, Oberscharführer Muzikant, and solves this problem in the old National Socialist humane way.
The actual camp evacuation began in Melk on the 11th of April 1945, with the removal of 1,500 children, young people and sick people who were transferred by freight train to Mauthausen. As the drawing by Michael Kraus, who was also in this transport, shows, the evacuation for the Melk prisoners did not end in Mauthausen in all cases, because from the so-called tent camp at Mauthausen there was another evacuation march to the subcamp Gunskirchen near Wels, where masses of prisoners died of lack of food and exhaustion in the last days before the end of the war. On the 13th of April 1945, the city of Vienna was liberated by Soviet troops. However, an hour's drive west of Vienna this was not noticed. On this day the two largest evacuation transports from Melk to the subcamp Ebensee in Upper Austria took place. A total of over 4,000 were transported westwards. 2,000 of these were transferred by train and arrived at the camp Ebensee only 2 days later. Another 2,400 prisoners, however, were loaded into cargo barges and taken upstream along the Danube to Linz. Claus Salomon remembers.
Now we will line up at the roll call square. Everyone will get another piece of bread, and then the miserable train sets off. On the way to our loading point on the Danube we see the wagon columns of the victorious Hitler Army. They look desperate too. Down the Danube we are loaded into cargo barges. The prisoners are distributed on the loading ramps so that one lies on top of the other. About 900 prisoners are accommodated in a loading room, so that sleeping is out of the question. The evaporation of the bodies pollutes the air, while the SS men up on deck are out for a walk.
But that's not all. From Linz, the prisoners had to march on foot to Ebensee, a distance of almost 90 kilometers. During this march, which only ended after about a week on April 20th, 1945, with the arrival in Ebensee, at least 21 prisoners were murdered. A few prisoners managed to escape. About 2 weeks later, on the 6th of May 1945, the camp Ebensee was liberated by US troops. But many of the prisoners evacuated from Melk died in Ebensee in the weeks and months that followed, as a result of the forced labor in the tunnels beyond the Wachberg. Many of them are buried today in the camp cemetery in Ebensee. On April 15th, 1945, the Melk subcamp was finally dissolved, and on this day the last 1,500 inmates left the camp. 1,444 of them were transported by freight train to Ebensee. Another 55 left Melk on this day by trucks and horse-drawn wagons. The transport leader of this very last transport was camp leader Julius Ludolph, who was captured a few weeks later by US soldiers in Ebensee. A year later he was sentenced to death in Dachau by a US military court for his criminal role in the Melk subcamp. His execution was carried out on the 27th of May 1947 in Landsberg am Lech in western Germany. But what happened now to the empty campsite in Melk? What became of the crematorium building and the tunnel system? We will discuss these questions in the next part of our tour.